Isaiah 62. For Zion's sake will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake I will not rest until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of thy God. Thou shalt no more be termed forsaken, neither shall thy land any more be termed desolate. But thou shalt be called Hephzibah, and thy land Beulah. But the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land. For as a young man marrieth a virgin, so shall thy sons marry thee. And as the bridegroom rejoiceth over the bride, so shall thy God rejoice over thee.
It was simply the most beautiful spot I've ever seen in my life.
So at the right hand of the Lord, there are pleasures forevermore. So we can look at the earth today, and there are still, even though this devil has destroyed and ruined the earth and polluted the world, polluted the air, polluted the waters, polluted the food and the people and everything, and the earth itself, there are still places on earth that are so breathtaking and so beautiful, even though it's still tainted, but it's just so beautiful to look at. You know, being there can probably take off, or bring you back 5-10 years, make you 5 or 10 years younger, 15-20 years younger, just by the presence, the aura of that place. So just imagine how much greater the kingdom is going to be when the Most High has on his right hand there are pleasures forevermore. Imagine how much greater and how much more beautiful the kingdom of heaven is going to be once it's established. And these are things that we have to keep in mind, because this is what we're fighting for.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation to the hopeful they got there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. All right, and what I want to get into, today, finishing off Daniel, the 11th chapter, part 2. All right, as we know, I say it's a lot of tedious history, that goes into, the chapter dealing with the Syrian wars, between the Seleucid, and the Ptolemaic empires. All right, with the Seleucid Empire being the kings of the north, all right, and the Ptolemaic Empire being the kings of the south. Okay, and I just want to also I did a correction video, but I just want to speak on it again, while we're live. Okay, so I did the quick correction video with Daniel 11, the 5th chapter, but I want to touch on it again, just to clear that up. All right, so when you go to and let me go to the NLT as well. All right, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 11. All right, verse 5 in the NLT. And it says, the king of the south will increase in power. Okay, which is speaking of Ptolemy. And one of the power moves that he made, was he stole the body, of Alexander, all right, the Great. And he pretty much, paraded it through the city of Alexandria, where in Egypt in general, Alexander was favored, you know, because he went into Egypt, before he finished conquering the Persian Empire. And he was favored, in Egypt. He was looked at as a liberator, from the yoke of the Persians. And Ptolemy soldier, all right, stole the body and paraded it through Alexander, as a political stunt, and it worked in, his behalf, but you go into his rulership, he wasn't much of a strong ruler, okay? But on the Seleucid side, all right, Seleucid first, all right, Nicator, when you keep reading, it says, well, one of his officials, okay, will become more powerful than he and will rule his kingdom with great strength. And then speaking of Seleucid the first, okay, the founder of the Seleucid dynasty, okay, that we're reading about, all right, Seleucid first Nicator, and he would go on to carve out the biggest portion of Alexander's kingdom, okay, to himself, okay, into his dynasty, okay. He will become a greater dynasty, all right, than the Ptolemies, you know, especially during this time, at the establishing of it. Okay, so this official, okay, that would become more powerful, all right, than Ptolemy soldier would be his rival, all right, Seleucid the first Nicator, okay, which is a king of the north, all right, and this is the beginning of that rivalry, that we're going through. So yesterday we made it to pretty much, the time. This is Daniel 11:21, and this is when, all right, Antiochus, okay, Epiphanes, all right, which probably the most infamous of the Seleucid, kings, okay, and infamous goes into being famous or well known for wickedness, okay, or for evil. All right, so he would be the most emphasis, especially as the one thing we came out of Christianity, we didn't know what the Apocrypha was, and when we read, the book of the Maccabees, first and second Maccabees, this is a character that stands out because he would, do a lot of mischief, against, our people. He had a deep hatred, for us as a people and our power that we worship, man. He had a big problem with our culture, okay, and what we stood for as a people, but they're just the rivalry and the hatred between all right, Jacob and Esau, okay, like he really embodied, matter of fact, let's go here to Genesis 27, all right, because this devil Antiochus, he pretty much embodied, their hatred, all right, that's that dwells within Esau, you know. This is I'm gonna read this in the KJV. This is Genesis 27, okay, because this robbery, ultimately goes to the womb, okay. But when you go here, this is Esau verbalizing, his hatred to Jacob. And this is Genesis 27:41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing, okay, wherewith his father blessed him. Okay, and ultimately that blessing was world dominion. And not only that, is that we, all right, will be the Lord's people and he will be our power. Okay, and Esau, he hated Jacob because of that, and the Lord set it up where Jacob supplanted the birthright and the blessing, okay, from Esau, okay, and which will add fuel to the rivalry, man. But that's how the Lord wanted it for, the sake of his movie. And Esau said in his heart, all right, his mind, the days of mourning for my father at hand, then I will slay my brother Jacob. Okay. And that hatred, okay, never stopped, and like Antiochus is a a figure, of the hatred of Esau Edom, towards Jacob. All right, the Israelites, man. Okay. You go here to Amos chapter 1. All right. in verse 10. Mm, or start verse 11. Yep. Amos 1 and 11 said, Thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. Okay? So Esau, Edom, always had, this wrath, okay, this violent wrath kindled within himself against, Jacob. Okay, so these devils, their wrath is in them, man. And we're finna see this on display, all right, in the times to come. You see, in the times to come, gonna be worse, all right, than what Antiochus did. You know, but there's mercy, and then the hedge promise for the remnant. Okay, there's a standard that's promised to be lifted. Okay, against this devil. Okay, but there's wrath kindled in this devil, man. He's gonna show no pity, and the Lord is gonna use this devil to judge a lot of Israelites, man. And this is the warning we keep telling our people, man, because we're going through this history. It's not just for us to have this knowledge, just to have it. Nah, man, showing you that this devil has a lot of hatred for Israelites, man. Okay, and this devil all right, he's not going to have no pity in the times to come. Okay, as we know, like I say, just read it in prophecy, man. Okay, which really, you know, you segue into Daniel 12, which we'll get into that. All right, but you go here to what you how shall warn, okay, and then we'll get into it. This is Matthew 24 and 21. It said, For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Okay? So if we coming into a time, that's worse than any time that's ever existed, man, and we understand, that, as a people, we've been through some things, man. Okay, but there's a time that's worse than that. Okay? But the thing is the Lord, has a promise that we're going to be good in these times, man. Okay, so let's understand that we need that protection from on high. All right, to get through, what the Lord, is about to bring to the earth. Okay, and He gonna use Esau, Edom, as a tool of judgment. Before Esau's judged and removed. Okay, so let's go here and let's get Daniel 11:21. All right, it says the next to come to power will be this Daniel 11:21 in the NLT said the next to come to power, and this will be after Seleucid, Philopator, okay, he has Seleucus the fifth, all right, the fourth Seleucus the fourth Philopator, okay, would come to the throne of the Seleucid Empire, all right, and he will be put to death, from the inside, and eventually, and Antiochus, the fourth Epiphanes, he will come, to the throne, all right, after him of the Seleucid dynasty, okay, and we're gonna go into, how he got the throne, and this is why, in Daniel there's certain things said about, you know, how he got the throne. It says the next to come to power will be a despicable man who is not in line for the royal succession. He will slip in when least suspected and take over the kingdom by flattery and intrigue. Okay, so let's go to a little bit of history of Antiochus. Okay, it says he was not in line for the royal succession. Okay, so when you go into how he will come into power, all right, let's go here to Antiochus. Okay, so this is Antiochus Epiphanes. All right, this is Wikipedia. Okay. Um, I want to go to. Yeah, it says Antiochus' accession to the throne was controversial, and he was seen as a usurper by some. Okay, so he was looked at as a usurper. All right, because of the way he came to the throne. Because he was pretty much like an outcast. Because he was a hostage in Rome. After the death of his brother Seleucus, all right, Philopator, in 175 BC, the true heir should have been Seleucus' son Demetrius the First. However, Demetrius, all right, the first was very young and a hostage in Rome at the time, and Antiochus seized the opportunity to declare himself king instead, successfully rallying enough of the Greek ruling classes, okay, with their flattery in Antioch to support his claim, okay. This helped set a stabilizing trend in the Seleucid Empire, a destabilizing trend in the Seleucid Empire in subsequent generation as an increasing number of claimants tried to usurp the throne. Uh, so let's go down. Here you go, rise to power. That's what I want to get to. Antiochus born, all right, 215 BC, was the son of the Seleucid king Antiochus the Great. All right, Antiochus the Third the Great. As a potential successor to the throne, he became a political hostage of the Roman Republic under the terms of the Treaty of Apamea, concluded in 188 BC after his older brother Seleucus Philopator succeeded their father to the throne in 187. All right, BC. Antiochus was exchanged for his nephew Demetrius, the son and the heir of Seleucus. After this, Antiochus lived in Athens and was there when his brother was assassinated in 175 BC by the government minister, all right, Helidorus. Okay, and it says Helidorus proclaimed himself regent afterward, recently giving himself control of the government. This arrangement did not last long. With the help of King Eumenes II of Pergamon, Antiochus, all right, the fourth traveled from Athens through Asia Minor and reached Syria by November 175 BC. Seleucus' legitimate heir Demetrius was still a hostage in Rome, so Antiochus seized the throne for himself, proclaiming himself co-regent with another son of Seleucus, an infant named Antiochus. Okay, Antiochus' son, all right, of Seleucus, the fourth, would later die in 170 BC, probably murdered by Antiochus. So you had one of his nephews, was in Rome as a hostage, who was the legitimate heir, and then you had Demetrius' younger brother, which was another nephew of Antiochus, okay, in which they speculate that Antiochus Epiphanes put him to death. So it was a lot of controversy on his ascension to the throne, okay, because he wasn't part of the succession. Okay, so he manipulated, called a body, you know, and he ascended the throne. So that's why when you go to Daniel, okay, speaking of uh, Antiochus, Daniel 11:21, it says, the next to come to power would be a despicable man, all right, who was not in the royal, who was not in line for royal succession, okay, and what we just read about with Antiochus Epiphanes. He will slip in what least suspected and take over the kingdom by flattery and intrigue, okay, and it says before his armies, all right, before him, great armies will be swept away, including a covenant prince. Okay. And who's that covenant prince? That high priest, was Ananias. All right. I believe Ananias the fourth, because during the time of his father, um, Ananias the third, it was during the time of Antiochus the third the great. Okay. Well, when he died, all right, Ananias the fourth was the legitimate, next high priest. Okay, But as we get here to show you, okay, um, Antiochus Epiphanes started, to interfere, with, the priesthood. Okay, he did a lot of things that his fathers, his predecessors didn't do. Okay, so let's get that in the book of Maccabees. Get that history. So we'll be, and the book of Maccabees is loaded, with history, man. They really expounds on these things, because you get some conflicting stories, within the secular history. But I think the book of Maccabees really um, expounds on a lot of history, So you go here, let's get straight to the point. This is matter of fact, I read one. It said, "This Simon now, all right, having been betrayal of the money and of his country, slander Onias, as if he had terrified Helidorus and been the work of these evils." Okay, so that lets you know that Helidorus, okay, he was a true character. All these characters you read about in secular history, the Bible, mentioned them as well. Okay, let you know the Bible is the supreme book of history, present, and future, man. Okay, now let's jump to verse 7. It says, "But after the death of Seleucus," okay, this is Seleucus the fourth, "when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason the brother of Ananias labored underhanded to be high priest, promising unto the king by intercession 303 score talents of silver and another revenue of 80 talents. Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set up a place for exercise and for training up the youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians." Okay, and it shows you that, as you're gonna read on, man, Antiochus, thought himself to be a god. Verse 10, when the king had granted and had gotten into his hand to rule, okay, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion, man. So it says when the king had granted, okay, so Jason was granted the high priest office over Ananias, you know, and there was Antiochus, as it says in Daniel. All right, before him, great armies will be swept away, including a covenant prince. Okay, which he swept away Ananias, man. He started to, interfere. Okay, with the succession of the high priest, man, which, the kings before didn't do that. Okay, it says so let's go back to Daniel. Okay, so we not gonna get real tedious. We just expound on a few points. All right, this is Daniel 11:22. Said before him great armies will be swept away, including a covenant prince. With deceitful promises, he will make various alliances. He will become strong despite having only a handful of followers, man. Okay, and you remember he, was looked at as a usurper, but he rallied enough of the noble families, around his cause to, get into power, and then he began to, manipulate, make certain promises, to gain the favor, of the people, So he started with a small backing, known as a usurper, all right, but through gifts and, particular alliances, he grew, in power. Okay, and um, verse 24 says, "Without warning, he will enter into the richest areas of the land. Then he will distribute among his followers the plunder and wealth of the rich, something his predecessors had never done. He will plot the overthrow of strongholds, but this will not last. This will last for only a short while. Okay, so let's go into back into Antiochus, and then we're gonna get another count in the book of Maccabees. Well, let's get this in the secular history. Okay, this is back with Antiochus. All right, so when you go into all right, so you go into his ruling style, with that prophecy dealing with his ruling style. Antiochus, all right, Epiphanes cultivated a reputation as an extravagant and generous ruler. He scattered money to common people in the streets of Antioch, gave unexpected gifts to people he did not know, contributed money to the temple of Zeus at Athens and at the altar of Delos. All right, put all his Western military forces on a massive parade at Daphne, a suburb of Antioch, and he held opulent banquets with the aristocracy, all right, using the best spices, clothing, and food. He also supplemented the Seleucid army with mercenaries. All of this cost the Seleucid treasury. All right, all of this, all right, cost the Seleucid treasury, but the empire was apparently able to raise enough taxes to pay for it. His eccentric behavior and unexpected interaction with common people, such as appearing in the public bathhouses and applying for um, um, municipal, all right, offices, led his detractors to call him, all right, Epiphanes, all right, which is to say the mad. Okay, so he was generous to the common people, and he would give gifts to those uh that was pro Helen. Okay, that was with the Greek culture. Okay, the Hellenistic. Okay, and you have these accounts, in the Bible where he was, giving out these gifts, okay, and he was, offering, bribes, even to our people to become Hellenists, man, okay, and forsake, the God of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, the power of our forefathers, Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, you know. So let's get some accounts in the Maccabees, okay, then line up with it when you go here to the book of Maccabees. Let's go to first Maccabees 3. Started. Now this was after a they one of his commanders, all right, one of his captains lost a battle, all right, to the Maccabees, all right, the Judas, and the Maccabean, rebels as they would call them. So when he heard about these things, this was his reaction. This is show you his ruling style. This is First Maccabees 3:27 says, now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation, wherefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of his realm, even a very strong army. He opened also his treasury and gave his soldiers pay for a year. Okay, that was his ruling style, man. He was given, to the cause. Okay, especially when it came to war. All right, but hey, to his causes, and to to the agenda of Hellenization. He was very generous, man, and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. Okay. Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes of the country were very small because of dissension and plague which he had brought upon the land, and taken away the laws which were which had been of old time, man. So this man rulership was like a plague, okay, in the land, okay. But it just shows you the generosity that he would pay his soldiers for a year, telling them to be ready when I need you, man. Okay. But that just, his ruling style, as I say, and his forefathers, his predecessors didn't rule like that. Okay. So you go back to Daniel. Um, all right, this back in Daniel chapter 11. Okay, verse 23 says, without warning, he will enter the richest areas of the land. Then he will distribute among his followers the plunder and wealth of the rich, something his predecessors had never done. He will plot to overthrow a stronghold, but this will not last. But this will last, all right, for only a short while, because his rulership was only, I don't even think it was 10 years. Okay, I think September 175 BC to November, December of 164 BC, So you're looking at 9 years, of his rulership. Okay. It says, then he will stir up his courage and raise a great army against the king of the south. The king of the south will go to battle with a mighty army, but will not prevail. All right. For there will be plots against him. His own household will cause his downfall. His army will be swept away, and many will be killed, because there was betrayal, within the Ptolemaic, okay, dynasty, okay, in which they, began to work on behalf of the Seleucids, okay. So within the house of Ptolemy, there was betrayal, and the apocrypha goes into this this first invasion, Antiochus' first invasion of Ptolemy, of the king of the south. All right, so let's go to that real quick. Like I say, we'll be back and forth. Um, that's in First Maccabees, the first chapter. Okay, well, this is I believe start at verse 17. Okay, now this is First Maccabees 1:17. It says, I started 16. It says, now when the kingdoms was established before, all right, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion of two realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Now remember, this Ptolemy, all right, that's that's on the throne. Okay, is let's go here. All right, this is Ptolemy. All right, Philometer. All right, this is Ptolemy Philometer. Okay, that's on the throne. Okay, that he's invading. At this time. All right, and as you go into it back in Maccabees, it says it made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt, but Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Okay, and what we have to understand at this time, this Ptolemy is actually uh, King Antiochus' nephew. Because remember, Antiochus the third, which is Ptolemy, which is Antiochus Epiphanes' father, gave um Ptolemy hold on. All right. He gave Ptolemy, all right, Epiphanes. He gave Ptolemy Epiphanes his daughter Cleopatra. Okay, so there was Antiochus Epiphanes' sister. Okay, so Ptolemy Philometor is an Antiochus Epiphanes' nephew. All right, through his sister Cleopatra. Okay, and this is who he's invading. Okay, and it says, thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. Okay, and he took the spoils thereof. So this is what Daniel, okay, 11 and 20 25 is going into. So then he will stir up his courage and raise a great army against the king of the south. The king of the south will go to battle with a mighty army, but to no avail, for there will be plots against him. His own household will cause his downfall. His army will be swept away, and many will be killed, seeking nothing but each other's harm. Now, after this happened, and remember, this is still Antiochus' nephew, so after, Antiochus invades and pretty much takes certain strongholds and spoil certain city, he has an actual, dinner, with his nephew. Okay. And it's what the Daniel 11 and 27 going into. It says, seeking um nothing but each other's harm, these kings will plot against each other at the conference table, and it was like a publicity stunt because Antiochus, he made it seem as if he was protecting, his nephew's claim to the throne, but he was really, you know, um, had control of the Ptolemaic, house, all right, because, his history says like how his nephew was, intimidated, by, his crazy ass uncle. Okay. So it says attempting to deceive each other, but it will make no difference, for the end will come at the appointed time, because after Antiochus, Epiphanes, the Seleucid Empire really, began to fizzle out, and will be absorbed by the Romans, you know. And it says, the king of the north will then return home with great riches. As we just read, he will spoil, the strongholds. On the way, he will set himself against the people of the Holy Covenant, doing much damage, all right, before continuing his journey. And it's Daniel 11 and 28. So I left, all right, Maccabees, the first chapter, because it's going into it, okay? It's the book of Maccabees 1. And I started 18. It says it made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt, but Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, okay, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, all right, the people of the covenant, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table and of the showbread and of the um, pouring vessels and the veils and the censers of gold and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were. Okay, so going back into Daniel 11 and 28, the king of the north will return home with great riches. This is him returning from Egypt. And remember, you know, they will have to go through Jerusalem, to invade and come back through on their way back home. Okay, so this was just like a drive by. Okay, it says the king of the north will then return home with great riches. On the way, he will set himself against the people of the holy covenant, doing much damage before continuing his journey. Okay, that's what it just as we was read. All right, it said then at the appointed time, he will once again invade the south, but this time, okay, the result will be different. For warships from the western coastlands or from Shittim, okay, in the NLT it says Shittim will scare him off and he will withdraw and return home, but he will vent his anger against the people of the Holy Covenant and reward those who forsake the covenant. Okay, so let's get into that. All right, so the warships from the western coastland, because remember the Roman Empire is to the west, okay, of the Seleucid Empire. All right, it was the Roman Republic at the time. Okay, and when you go into, all right, this event when he invaded. Matter of fact, I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this video and it's gonna expound on what happened with this incident. Let's go here. So let me stop. All right, so this, what happened when he went to invade Egypt again. Okay.
Concluded there must be a full-scale rebellion in Israel. He gathered his army and led them out of Egypt. However, Antiochus returned to his home in Syria while he sent one of his generals to Jerusalem to put down the rebellion. After Antiochus left Egypt and seeing Ptolemy Philometor under his control, the Alexandrians declared Philometor's younger brother as the new ruler. When Antiochus learned about what happened, he decided to make a third expedition into Egypt to restore his nephew to power. When Antiochus entered Egypt, he was met by Philometor's advisors, who convinced him that the whole affair was the fault of the Alexandrians. So Antiochus marched upon the city of Alexandria and laid siege to it. However, the Alexandrians had already sent ambassadors to request assistance from Rome, who dispatched Antiochus's longtime friend, Gaius Popilius Laenas, to negotiate with him. He was brought to Egypt by ships from the coastlands and islands of the Mediterranean region, which the Jewish people referred to as the area of Kethim, or its alternate spelling, Kittim. The story goes that when Popilius came out to meet him, Antiochus enthusiastically rushed up to greet his long-lost friend. However, Popilius did not acknowledge their friendship and was all business. Popilius relayed the message from Rome, demanding that Antiochus stop the siege of Alexandria and abandon the invasion of Egypt. Antiochus asked for some time to consult with his friends and consider his options, but Popilius walked up and drew a circle in the sand around Antiochus and said, "Before you cross this circle, I want you to give me a reply for the Roman Senate," and implied that Rome would declare war if he refused. Antiochus did not want to get into a war with Rome, who had grown to be very powerful by this time, so he agreed to withdraw. Popilius then agreed to shake hands with Antiochus and talk with him as a friend. And this is said to be the origin of the phrase, "a line in the sand."
Yeah, so you see, all right, going back to Daniel. All right, which I'll read this in the KJV, you know, um, real quick and go back. All right, so this is on Daniel 11. All right, and slide 29 says, "At the time appointed, he shall return." All right, and he being Antiochus Epiphanes and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former. All right, it's not gonna go like it went last time, where he pretty much had his way. or as the latter, for the ships of Shittim, all right, speaking of the Romans, shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved, all right, because he was embarrassed, because he had to leave from his siege and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake, okay, the holy covenant. Okay, so now you go back to um I'll read 31, and then we'll go into it says, "And the arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate." Okay, which we went into that in Daniel the 8th chapter. All right, so when you go into the accounts, where we'll get these accounts again, for edification's sake. Okay, so he's pissed, about what happened in Egypt, so he wants to come, take it out, all right, on the tribes. Okay, he didn't have the energy for Rome. All right, so he wanted to, come take it out on the tribes. So now remember, this was the first time he left Egypt. All right, in the year one, what 143 was just 143 is not the actual year, but it's just the year of the rulership of the Greeks. Okay, so you had some years to go by. All right, and I want to get here. All right, we just read into it. Okay, it says, "Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave, all right, his law, so that all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yet many also the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and professed the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, and that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary of the holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine flesh and unclean beasts. All right, that they should leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, all right, he said he should die. In the self same manner, all right, wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people concerning the cities of Judea, to sacrifice, all right, city by city. All right, so he pretty much put supervisors to make sure that Jake was going off. Like, this nigga really financing, the us, become Hellenized, man. Okay, it said, then many of the people were gathered unto them, to with every one that forsook the law, so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even whensoever they could find, uh, if um, they could flee, okay, for secure. This is part of what's being scattered too, and this is how you had Israelites, in other land. You read Acts the second chapter, okay. It goes into the devout men out of every nation under heaven. Okay, we had a lot of, their forefathers, foremothers fleed, from this persecution into other lands, to where they could still keep the law. Okay, it says, now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idols idol altar throughout the city of Judah on every side, and burned incense at the doors of their house and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they had found, they burnt them with fire, and wheresoever, all right, and wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament of any considered to the law, the king's commandment was they should be put him to death. That thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month to as many as was found, okay, in the cities, okay? And you jump here, uh, let's get this in second Maccabees, all right, because remember, first Maccabees, it picks up, all right, well, second Maccabees, the fourth chapter, leaves off, all right? So let's go to second Maccabees, the sixth chapter, and this was him putting the end, to their daily sacrifice, that was required, that morning and evening, all right, sacrifice that was required of the priest, was put to a halt, okay, under Antiochus, okay, going back to those 2,300 days, um, in the prophecy of Daniel the 8th chapter, okay, in which after the battle, in the first Maccabees, the fourth chapter, that temple is rededicated. All right, it says not long after this, second Maccabees 6:1. Not long after this, the king sent the old man to Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their father, and not to live out the laws of the Most High, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus, and then in garrison of Jupiter to defend them strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in as of this, it said, the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that, about these things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with profane things, was the law forbade, neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all, okay, to be a Jew. And so this was a time, all right, as it says the same thing in Daniel the 8th chapter, read verse 31, Daniel 11 and 31, all right, it says, the arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, you know, because our connection to Yahweh by Shema Shai, that's our strength. And that's why these heathens will always, seek to destroy the temple, man, you know, which those out there represent the presence, the Most High in the midst of us, man. Okay. And it says, it shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that make it desolate, man. Begin to bring, those idols in the temple, okay, the mischief in the temple, and the priests couldn't go in and do, their daily obligations of the daily sacrifice. Okay, it says, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries, but the people that know their power shall be strong, okay, and do exploits. Okay, so this is why those wicked niggas wanted to join. Since what they say in First Maccabees, since we left from the heathen, life has been hard because you was rewarded for being a heathen. Okay, you was rewarded, for being Hellenized as an Israelite. You would be rewarded, you know. So they was looking, at how Antiochus, was just splurging, you know. He was just, giving gifts, to random people. Well, this was for being pro Helen, man. Okay. Let's get saying? First Maccabee. But this is why Jake had that mindset of like, shit, we need to get with them. Jake was looking at these Greeks, they were, just splurging and living these extravagant lifestyles and banquets, and Jake was looking like, man, that's what we need to be on, like this, the laws and having this, order. They looked at it, as the law was holding them back, man, from from partying, man, you know, any little orgies and all this, So they was looking like, man, we need to get on that, okay. So that's why you read First Maccabees 1. It says, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome and reigned in 137 year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Okay, so Jake, was looking at Antiochus Epiphanes and how he was, his ruling style, the way he was just giving gifts, giving money to random people, and he was, amongst the people, just like these niggas are over certain presidents. How niggas was about Bill Clinton, these heathens, how niggas was about Biden when he first got in. Like, see, you know, these niggas just look at these Edomites as the way. And how you always have a remnant of our people, they just look at these Edomites as the way. Okay. Um, but you had a resistance. Okay, as you read back in Daniel uh 11. All right, it's back in Daniel 11 and 32 is the NLT. Said he will flatter and win over those who have violated the covenant. Okay, and they say many conceded, to the Greekish fashion, but the people who know their power will be strong and resist him. Okay, because you go back to First Maccabees when he was doing all that killing. What did you have, man? You had the 7 Maccabees brothers. You read in Second Maccabees, the 7th chapter, Eleazar. Okay, the elder man. You know, Mattathias. Okay, and ultimately led to the revolt. All right, now let's go here. First Maccabees 1:60, just an example. It says, at what time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised, and they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit, many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. So there was a resistance against this, man. Okay, wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So so then they died. Okay, so there was a resistance, man. Like I said, you have the story of the 7 Hebrew brothers and their mother. Those brothers. Okay, those 7 Hebrew brothers and their mother in Second Maccabees, the 7th chapter. Okay, and then in the chapter before that, Eleazar, his resistance, and ultimately Mattathias, all right, his resistance, man. Okay, and it goes into this when you keep reading. It says, wise leaders will give instruction to many, but these teachers will die by fire and sword. Okay, certain tortures our people went through, man, or they will be jailed and robbed. Okay, those are ones that there was resisting, man. It said during these persecutions, little help would arrive, and many who joined them would not be sincere, man, because a lot would join, just out of fear. You had some that was, gun ho, on living after the manner of the heathen. Okay, but then some just out of fear, they would give in. Okay, but then you had some they stood stiffly, man. Okay, so it said Daniel 11:35, and it says that some of the wise will fall victim to persecution in this way. They will be refined and cleansed and made pure until the time of the end, for the appointed time is still to come. Okay, and ultimately that's the time that we in now. All our forefathers and foremothers that have ever stood against any persecution, even unto death. Okay, that was just part of their refining process, man. And you get that when you read. All right. Um, let's see. Let's read that in Maccabee. Let's go back to Maccabees. Let's go to the end of that story with the Hebrew boys. And that was a great example of that. I want to say it's like verse like 27 maybe. All right, this started at 25. So this is the youngest brother. All right, who's about to be, killed, tormented and killed, for not consenting, to like the Greekish way, and we're gonna have to take a hard stance, man. You see, this is why, we're not here to give you gimmicks. We're not here to, you know, to be no celebrities for you, man. Like, nah, man. Okay, we here to push, faith, and the deliverance that's promised, man. We're gonna need help in these times, man. We're gonna need a standard to be lifted, man. Okay. We read this about our forefathers, and we coming into these times, man, where we're gonna see some things, man. We're gonna be in some scrapes. Okay. But our forefathers, and even some of our foremothers, man, they didn't give a damn what they was up against, man. They knew one thing, man. They weren't budging. You see, and they didn't know nothing else. They knew they weren't budging, man. He said, but when the young man would in no case hearken unto him, the king called his mother and exhorted her that she should counsel the young man and save his life. And when he had exhorted her with many words, she promised him that she would counsel her son. All right. Um, I want let me jump to verse 30. It says, while she was yet speaking these words, the young man said, whom wait ye for? I will not obey the king's commandment, but I will obey the commandment of the law that was given unto our fathers by Moses. And thou that hast been the author of all the mischief against the Hebrews shall not escape the hands of the Most High. For we suffer because of our sins, and though the living power be angry with us a little while for our chastening and correction, yet shall he be at one again, okay, with his servants. Okay, so he understood that, look, this wasn't the end of the story. All right, there was gonna come a time when the Lord would be one again with his people. And he understood that they was being chastened for correction. Okay, he understood this part of the refining. Okay. He said, but thou, O godless man, and of all most wicked, be not lifted up without a cause, nor puffed up with uncertain hopes, lifting up thy hand against the servants of the Most High. For thou hast not yet suffered, thou hast not yet escaped the judgment of the Almighty, who seeth all things. For our brethren who now have suffered a short pain are dead under the Most High's covenant of everlasting life. You see, because they knew, all right, that this temporary suffering still wouldn't make wouldn't disannul that covenant of everlasting life, man, a promise. Okay, and that promise was confirmed through Yahushua. It says, but though said, but thou through the judgment of the Most High shall receive just punishment for thy pride. Okay? You see? So this is why, and this segue to the times we're in now. Okay, as we go to here. Let's pull this up. And also our people understood, that there was still, the Lord was going to fulfill his promise. See, they died in faith, like they faith, all right, establish a legacy for them. Okay. They kept the law, of course, to the best of their ability. It wasn't perfect in it, but it was their faith that established a legacy for those Hebrew boys that we read about, man. Okay. And they understood that, hey, we being chastened now, but their hope was in everlasting, man. Okay. They promised. Okay. And this is why, we shouldn't have a mindset, okay, to try to save our situations in this life, man, when it comes to standing stiffly. You see, we're going to have to be real willing to sacrifice everything, in hopes for this promise, man. And see, we know now, see, that was even before Yahushua came the first time. They was willing, to take a death, okay, than to be disobedient. All right. And we're in a time where Yahushua is about to come the second time. He's came the first time, but we're in the time he's going to come the second time and fulfill that reward, man. It's in Matthew 19 and 27. Then answered Peter said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? Okay, what shall we have therefore? And Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, okay, this is reincarnation. Those, even the mother understood reincarnation, man. Okay, even the mother, she understood that. When you go back to Maccabees chapter 7, let's get that. Okay. Let's get this. This is Second Maccabees 7 and 27. It says, but she, bowing herself towards him, laughing the cruel tyrant to scorn. She laughing at these Greeks, man. Okay, she laughing at them, man. The Lord gonna give us a spirit to endure. That's another thing. We read these things and this, it be gut wrenching and, to the flesh. You like, God damn, But hey, the Lord gonna give us a spirit to deal, man. She laughing at these devils, man. Okay? It says, but she bowing herself towards him, laughing a cruel tyrant to scorn, spake in her country language on this manner. O my son, have pity upon me that bare thee 9 months in my womb, and gave thee suck 3 years, and nursed thee and brought thee up into this age, and endured the troubles of education. All right, because the women, all right, were the teachers. Okay, and what you think they was teaching, all right, their children, man. They were teaching them the laws. They were teaching them my history. Okay, etiquette. You best believe agriculture and certain things. And then the sons eventually will be handed off to the fathers, and the daughters will continue with the mothers. Okay, until it was time for them, okay, to be married off, man. Order. Okay. Verse 28, I beseech thee, my son, look upon the heaven and earth and all that is therein, and consider, all right, that the Most High made them with things that were not, and so was mankind made likewise. And she had a mindset that he is, man. So no matter the situation, we have to have that mindset that he is, man. Okay? It says, fear not this tormentor, but being worthy of thy brethren, take thy death, that I may receive thee again in mercy with thy brethren, that I may receive thee again in mercy with thy brethren. they understood reincarnation, man. They knew that wasn't the end of the story. Okay, so this is why Yahweh Shai, all right, is making these promises in another life for another lifetime, man. Okay, and it's this time here that we're coming to that great reward. And Yahweh Shai said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, and everyone that have forsaken houses or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or land for my name's sake shall receive an hundredfold and shall inherit everlasting life. Okay, so dying for Yahweh Shai, okay, guarantees rulership and everlasting life, man. Okay, and we're gonna rule in this realm in the earth. Okay, but many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first, man. You see, and this was always, a motivator for our forefathers. They understood like we get the victory at the end. You know, this First Corinthians 50, this First Corinthians 15:57 said, "But thanks be to the Most High, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Yahweh Shai Hamashiach." Okay, a victory, man. She's laughing at them because, hey, our forefathers, even some of my foremothers, man, they had that unmovable faith, man. Okay, like there was nothing you could show them or tell them to move them when it came to Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, man. It said, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, be you steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." Okay, they knew those deaths that they was taking was not in vain. Okay, and they have a memorial unto this day. Okay, in which we, have faith, to endure. Okay, to go through with it when we in certain circumstances, because we're gonna find ourselves, in different circumstances, man. Okay, but those ones that Ezra seen getting the crown, it was told that they stood stiffly, okay, for those names, and yeah, man, what I do, okay, because pretty much, the rest of the Daniel, is going into, Antiochus, Epiphanes, he become proud, all right, eventually the Lord, just take this nigga out, man, okay, well, just a few more little tidbits of kind of tedious history, okay, dealing with Antiochus, but ultimately, he became proud, all right, and the Lord, pretty much tortured him with an illness and got that nigga out of there, man. Okay, so, yeah, man, we'll conclude it there, just to sum it up. Uh, but the point, really, going into the times that we coming into now, how, we seen, we was heavily persecuted, but through it all, you always had a remnant, that was staying stiffly, that was unmovable, and that's what, we're going to have to mimic, all right, in these times, all right. So, Lord will you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified to the next time I say Shalom, Kwam Yashala, Bible Ball, Shalom, Shalom.